Hi, today is deltoids. Deltoids are your shoulder muscles here. They're named after the Greek letter delta, which is a triangle. But on us, they're basically an upside down delta located right here. Now their main job of the deltoid is to do abduction. We'll get to all the actions in just a little bit, but let's break down the anatomy real quick to help then explain its actions. So the deltoid muscle actually has three parts: an anterior or front part, a middle part, and a posterior or rear part. So you might hear those as front delts, middle delts, rear delts. The deltoids are innervated by the axillary nerve that comes from the posterior cord of the brachial plexus and consists of levels C5 and C6. The blood supply is from the acromial anastomosis, which consists of three arteries: posterior humeral circumflex, deltoid, and acromion branches, both coming from the thoracoacromial trunk. Now its attachments help us really understand its action. It has three origins. The anterior delt, or front delts, attached to the lateral one-third of the clavicle. The middle delts attached to the acromion process, which is the bump you can feel right here on your shoulder. And then the posterior deltoids, or posterior or rear delts, attached to the spine of the scapula, which is this bony part you feel on your shoulder blade that kind of moves around with you. So all three heads actually attach to the same place called the deltoid tuberosity, which is just on the side of your humerus of your upper arm here. Now based on which of the different parts of your deltoid you contract, we'll move the arm in different directions. Now acting together as one muscle group, all three parts would work together to do abduction, but that's the specific job of the middle deltoids, to move directly in abduction motion. Now if we wanted to target the front fibers directly, it would actually cause the arm to flex or come up in this direction. Now, a secondary action of those front deltoids is actually internal rotation. So internal rotation looks like this. But if we do internal rotation and flexion at the same time, it looks like this. Now the rear deltoids do the exact opposite of that. So it's going to do extension or extension with external rotation. So external rotation looks like this. And so if we do them together, it kind of looks like that. If you're looking to work out the deltoids, you're really going to have to do different exercises that incorporate its different actions into it. Now the most universal action that incorporates all of the fibers is going to be a straight abduction based exercise, because it's going to engage mostly the middle fibers, but when you engage the posterior and anterior deltoids all at once, they can't really pick a side. So what winds up happening is it goes right up the middle. With all its fibers contracting, or just the middle fibers specifically, we think of as an arm abductor. But it's not the only muscle that does this motion when we're doing full abduction of our entire arm. So as you can imagine, the deltoid has some synergistic muscles that work with it to do some of those actions. So from here to here, we have our supraspinatus muscle, another one of our rotator cuff muscles, helping out the deltoid. The deltoid is going to be the main mover from here to here, up to about 90 degrees. And then we start actually engaging our trapezius muscle and our serratus anterior muscle to get our arm all the way overhead. So the deltoid specifically is really responsible for this range of the motion. So sometimes we don't think about the deltoid as an internal versus external rotating muscle, and that can cause us to lose out on some of the possible exercises that we can do with it. For example, it's going to do internal rotation as well as flexion. If we do both of those motions at the same time, what we're actually doing is we're bringing these 2 points, its origin and insertion for the anterior deltoids, as close together to each other as we possibly can. Another muscle that will do that is going to be your pectoralis major. So those two guys work together to do internal rotation and flexion. Another muscle that will aid in internal rotation will be the subscapularis, versus external rotation coupled with extension. That's going to give us the closest 2 points between our rear delt origin and insertion to get the most contraction out of that muscle. External rotation we know is also done by our infraspinatus and our teres minor muscles. Then the extension part we also know is done by our latissimus dorsi as well as our teres major muscles. But the deltoids are going to come up in a lot of different compound movements. So whether you're pressing and using a lot of anterior delts, you're doing a standing row, you're going to utilize a lot of the middle and maybe a little bit of rear delts. Then we can also do a lot of extension or rowing exercises, which are going to utilize the posterior delts. So I will list some example exercises real quick for you guys that include all the different fiber directions of the deltoid. So next time you're lifting something heavy up above you, or you're at the gym working out, hopefully this video will help you better understand the muscle that you're working on and have an idea for how it's being used relative to other muscles in your body.